Well, it's Faces Friday again, and I'm Lynn Sherritt. Thanks so much for joining me. Everyone notices when teachers and leaders make a firm commitment to use the 14 parameters in self-assessing their own progress and the progress of the school and also across the system. So the 14 parameters help us develop a common language of improvement. They also assist in professional learning and ensuring that we have time to look at each of the dimensions of the 14 parameters together. As well, the 14 parameters help us self-assess what our next steps are for improvement. So leaders in a system, Noel Henry and Kay Blundell, have a conversation with me about how the 14 parameters made incredible improvements in their systemness in the Diocese of Wollongong. Let's join them in defining systemness and how the 14 parameters have created a dynamic system that's explicit in understanding how students improve, how they're learning, growing, and achieving together. Have a listen.
The 14 parameters now, that's all part of our vernacular. And the schools are actually, it's how we think. It's what we do. You know, we've got Kathy Eroda's principal at St Bridget's just up the road here. She took the parameter around resourcing better seriously. She's restructured all of the resources in her school. So they're all centralised. She's got really tight regimes about how teachers use the resources. So, yeah, look, I just wanted you to know that I think we're in a really good place, and we have continued to enjoy the support of the director, our new director, Peter Hill. I think we were lucky too that he had some experience with you, I think, in Brisbane.
Yeah.
But yeah. I said to him in the early days, this is a strategic approach that we've been working on for 3 years. Yeah. And we will continue to work on it. So he knew that I wasn't going to go away either. And I think the beauty of it was we had the results on the board. Now we're not going to chop and change. So.
And he's tried to be in schools as much as he can to get to know the principals and the schools and the whole area, because he's not from New South Wales. And he's hearing the same language. So he's coming back from his school visits, and it doesn't matter whether he's in Milton or whether he's in Greenville or wherever, they're talking the same language. And it's interesting that when we're interviewing for staff, and we've had this feedback from principals too, you can tell the staff that are coming from our system because of the language they're using and how they're speaking about the learning, as opposed to someone who's coming in from another system. So it's really easy to hear that language. So it's coming through in our applicants, it's coming through in interviews that we do for leadership positions. You're hearing that language. So the whole way in which you speak in the Catholic system in Wollongong is around this work. So Peter Hill came in, and that's what he's hearing from every school in different ways. And, you know, not everyone's in the same space, but that's what he's hearing. So he comes back to Noel in their meetings and to the leadership team, knowing that this is the language of Wollongong.
Well, that concludes our conversation, thinking about the 14 parameters of system and school improvement and noticing how they develop systemness, how a common language is developing among all teachers and leaders, and how they're raising expectations to ensure all students are improving. So the parameters give us that guidance, that framework we need to really self-assess. And it was interesting to me that Peter Hill, the new director in Wollongong and who I worked with in Brisbane, noticed as well that common language developing, that professional learning was making a difference using the 14 parameters to know how to teach each student. And there was a renewed sense of professionalism of teachers and that collective efficacy, knowing how to make a difference for all students. So my thank you to Noel Henry and Kay Blundell and Peter Hill and all the staff for their continuing commitment to excellence and equity by using the 14 parameters of system and school improvement in Wollongong. See you next week.